right and wrong, good and bad, the idea of creation, if it made dimensions, if it made these things, then it definitely cannot be bound by the things that it made. That's what we're saying, and that's why we say it's different to the limited dependent reality in this world. There's nothing infinite in this reality. Nothing is infinite. Everything in this reality is limited and dependent. And because the other side doesn't see what we mean by limited and dependent, they don't see creation. And I think that there's a problem here, because I can prove all day to Richard that something had a beginning and didn't make itself, and then I know rationally that means something caused it. Richard is having trouble with that step. He follows up until that point. He says, yeah, okay, it had a beginning, it didn't make itself, but did something else make it? No, it doesn't follow. That's where I have a problem with what Richard's saying.
Over there, behind you had your hand up before?
Yeah. You know, you talked about, when Hassan was talking about rational thinking and everything.
Yeah.
You changed that and you said it's incomprehensible.
Yes.
I think that was very clever, yeah. I'll tell you why. Because the point is, you dodged the question. And the point is that he established that you rationally, that you need some sort of thing that's outside of this reality to create it, because obviously this reality has to have a beginning. The thing is, you said it's incomprehensible, but just because we can't comprehend it, just like we can't comprehend what the person behind the door who knocks on it looks like, doesn't mean he's not there. Sorry, doesn't mean he's not there.
No, but you can't have it both ways. If something is incomprehensible, if it's impossible to think beyond certain limits, human limits, you have to stop.
Limits.
Yes.
Okay, so we agree that human beings are limited,
Yes.
but then you won't acknowledge that just because our comprehensibility in relation to the person behind the door is limited, because obviously you can't think about what he looks like behind the door, that suddenly means that he doesn't exist.
That's a bad example again, isn't it? I mean, you know, what's happening there is, again, you're taking examples from... You're taking examples from our experience, which of course are entirely comprehensible. Even though I don't know who's on the other side of the door, I can understand the idea that, you know, somebody produced the knock. I understand perfectly well the notion of the kinds of physical movements made by human beings that produce that kind of sound and
okay,
so on. So that's not a good analogy. Now,
okay.
you know, what you're looking for is an analogy of something that really does lie literally beyond our experience and beyond our human understanding. Now,
we're not going to take any disturbance.
Now, either you employ that notion or you don't, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say, you know, there must be something that lies entirely outside our understanding, and that thing that lies outside our understanding is the divine creator who created the universe. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You know, either you've got to the limits of human understanding, or you haven't. But you can't talk meaningfully about what you...
Is it kind of possible, please, bro? We don't want to talk you out, but... chill out.
You can't talk meaningfully about what you've acknowledged lies beyond the limits of human understanding. You have to accept those limits.
Hassan, you've got a point to mention.
I thought that Richard at the end agreed with you. He said you can't talk intelligently about what's outside of the reality. But my point here, this is what I would like to actually ask Richard now. I'm going to say that this reality, limited, dependent, and I say created because it was caused, had a beginning, didn't bring itself into existence. Whatever's outside of that reality is different. Why is it you can't have both, with this reality being different to the reality before it? Why?
Being different to what reality?
To the reality of whatever it is that caused this reality.
And what are you going to say about that?
Why is it that... I'm just saying it's different. For now, let's just keep it clear. Yeah. It's different. It's not bound by this reality.
Yeah, but again, see, my worry is you want to have it both ways. On the one hand, you want to say all we can say about it is that it's not something in our world of experience and our experience of reality. And yet at the same time, you want to make positive statements about it, as you did to the questioner up the back there, and say it is something that has choice and will and makes decisions.
Actually,
and
that's not quite what I said. I said that there's no reason for you to deny it does. I said that to call it a mechanical prime mover is to strip it of that. There's no reason for us to do so until we receive the information about what it is.
If you want to meaningfully apply the word God to it, then you do have to positively bring in those sorts of factors.
Creator. Creation. So
are you agreeing with the questioner up the back there then, which I thought, you know, this makes this very good points. All you're claiming saying is there must be some ultimate cause of physical reality.
I'd like to make this statement. This reality is created.
Created.
This reality is created.
And is that synonymous with this reality has some ultimate cause?
This rational belief means creation equals a creator, creation equals a creator, and one more time, creation equals a creator.
Creator for you means a personal being.
We need to think rationally because belief in a creator is rational.
I think we're going to take on. I think we're going to take on this.
I would
I
like
think
to
we've
be
gone.
down on it, but I'll come back to that.
I think we've gone past the 5-minute mark. The lady over there, please.
Question. You said you're making a lot of assumptions. You said that there must be. You said that there must be a beginning. How do you know that there is a beginning? Maybe we are in a beginning.
I think they highlighted the fact.
No, we got.
No, she was telling me.
I think before we take any further questions and answers.
Anyone?
I think before we take any further questions, I know this is a very, very emotional topic, but we have to have respect for our speakers and we have to have respect for the people who have organized this event. Part of the structure that we laid down was that no interference from the audience in terms of comments and cheering and jeering. So is it possible we could please actually stick to it? I think since Hassan's on the pro side with you, I think I'll let you answer it.
Okay, infinity, just as Richard said, is very difficult to think about. No problems. Richard is correct for saying so, which is why I just simplified it and said endless. Yeah, that's all. But now let me give you a quick discussion about what it means to be within infinite time. Now, we can only either be at the end of infinite time, false. Can't be at the beginning of infinite time, because I did have breakfast and it was cereal. Or we can be in the middle of an infinite series of events. But the problem with being in the middle of an infinite series of events is that the gap between 2 points in an infinite chain is infinite. So, if the gap between 2 points in an infinite chain is infinite, that means it will take an infinite amount of time for this pen to drop. Infinite amount of time. No, we're not in the middle of an infinite chain because it didn't take an infinite amount of time for 2 events, for the gap between 2 events.
I'm not talking about the pen, I'm talking about us. I am alive, and there is no 2 points. Just because we don't know what's going to happen and because we don't know what did happen does not mean that we can assume that there is a limit or that there is a beginning, on that, even if there is like a beginning. I don't know.
Then let me address that last point.
You're saying creation, creator.
Yes, all of that.
What if there are some things that do self-develop? For example, you leave some earth to enter in the sun for a few days and it'll start raining and seeds will start growing. But that doesn't mean that I was there making them grow.
No, it means that they're... Okay, let me address...
I think we found our special guest appearance tonight.
Let me address your point about beginning. Do you remember I said to you, in my response to you, that infinity would just say endless? And yes, the claim of the atheists that we're at the end of an infinite chain of events is false. Do you have a response to that?
Who makes that claim, Hassan?
Are you saying we're at the end of an infinity?
Who was that? Which atheist are you talking about to make that claim? Because if there is no one, then you're just making a straw man. It's no one's inside.
Okay, so then as long as we agree that the universe hasn't always existed, because you're not claiming it either. Are you claiming that?
No.
No, good. So then what's left? This universe calls itself?
No, you're trying to undermine the atheists as a group by going to an argument that none of them ever made.
You know...
Who made it, Hassan?
I think the question was asked by the... I don't know how it changed, but I think we're going to keep it.
Would you like him to answer that question?
Yeah.
Maybe last question, Hassan, and then we move on to the next question.
Okay. You know, I'm going to be very clear with you all. We can continue to debate the finer points. We can continue to look for an atheist that said it was infinite or
We can
not.
start.
Sorry?
We can start because we haven't actually done that.
Okay. And I think there's a second special guest. but I would suggest that we look at the motion, and the motion says belief in a creator is rational because I have proved creation and you haven't given a counter argument. In fact, your counter argument is, can you tell me somebody who said that the universe has always existed? So then, what would you like to bring to this
My
party
question
then?
is the one
I think we're going to move on to the next question. Sorry about that. Just in front of the special guest speaker.
Just answer the question.
No, I think he's answered the question. I think.
answer my first
What was his
I think he's given a satisfactory answer.
What's his question?
What's
his question?
Let the discussion continue.
Listen, I think the speaker has given a satisfactory answer. I think if you're not satisfied with the answer, that you can take it up to the speaker at the end.
I won't dispute that. You carry on.
Because I mean, just before, I mean, look, we need to have respect for the speakers and the audience. They're here to ask questions as well, not you just yourself. So please, could we actually respect that the guy in front of us, please? Thank you very much. Yeah.
I think this is sort of it's descending into a debate of like believers versus non-believers. When I think what it's supposed to be about is people who think that it's rational versus irrational. And you know, let's try and discuss this whole rational irrational thing. Hassan, you know, you keep reminding us that, you know, as we're at the end of this thing, then of this, you know, sequence that we're in, it must have had a beginning. That's, you know, that's a valid point. But who says we're at the end? I mean, I'd like to use the argument, if I may, if you'll sort of suspend your disbelief. I'd like to use irrationality in making some reality. I can't remember. It's a while since I've done AS level maths, but I can use pi, as in the Greek symbol. I can use that, which if you try and ask me to explain it, if I ask you to explain it, if I ask anyone in this room to explain it, it's impossible. You know, this number that keeps on going forever and ever and ever. I can use this number to make a circle, or, you know, work out rational things about you know, I can use an irrational thing and still come up with this reality. I've got this reality. I don't have to say that this is it. I can use irrational things to explain that. I mean, do you understand?
I was just going to say that there's nothing irrational about pi. It's a possible infinite. Mathematicians use possible infinites. The discussion is about actual infinite, whether one exists in reality.
Here? I mean,
sorry?
Could we not be in a I mean, you know, I'm just saying, if I try myself to get my head around any irrational number and anything like that, then it's going to take me forever. So if someone says, you know, explain the world, explain the universe, that's a hell of a lot more complicated than some AS level maths. So I'm not going to, you know, personally, I don't think I'm going to...
So what is your argument then? That it's difficult to understand? And that's it?
Well, no, I think you're putting us in this, you're saying we're in a finite thing. We're in this, because it's got this end. Who says it has an end, you know?
Who says this reality has an end?
Yeah.
Who says that it's finite? Okay.
Please.
I would like to give you a rather silly example, right? Just to ask you to be on the same page as me when it comes to what it means to be limited and unlimited. Just a silly example. Could something in this reality be unlimited? That's the question. So imagine right here in front of us, we have an unlimited pizza. Let's discuss whether we could have things in this reality that are unlimited. Could anyone describe what this unlimited pizza would be like?
Better than pizza.
Sorry?
It would be better than pizza.
It would be better than pizza.
Could I-
It's okay, you can just jump in. Anyone would like to jump in. Describe this unlimited
That's possibly not a
pizza.
great idea.
Sorry?
That's possibly not a great idea offering that up.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. Anyone?
Margarita pizza.
Margarita pizza?
Infinite toppings.
Infinite toppings. What else?
Call it in pizza.
Sorry?
Made in China.
I know.
Okay.